Hey yo, this is the Podmaster of Gridiron Television. How are you? How are you? How are you? Let's get right to business here. It is official. The San Diego Chargers have hired the services of Jeff Fisher. It's big news in the San Diego area as they have hired him as the new head coach, relieving North Turner. The reasons? Mainly, the owner Logan of the Chargers has admittedly discussed his discussed over North Turner's ability to properly run a defense how he sees fit. So, welcome Jeff Fisher. Obviously, he's known for his defensive prowess, and he'll bring some experience, if nothing else. The long-time tenure at Tennessee, you see what you get, but you know what you're getting with Jeff Fisher. You know what I mean? So that's exciting, and that's exciting in itself. I know it's dark in here, but we're gonna do what we have to do because we have to move on now. I want to introduce a new feature called Two-A-Days, where we're gonna talk about different teams. And I caught up with different owners of different teams. And I caught up with the Jags owner, the Jacksonville Jags owner, today. And asked him a few questions. And I'll run through that right now. And this is what he said from the owner, Alex himself. The new owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Alex. I asked him, what is it like taking over the Jacksonville Jaguars and Gridiron affiliation? He says in response, it's potentially a very good thing. There's a good base with Mercedes Lewis, Maurice Jones-Drew, and two of the quarterbacks fighting it out, David Garrard and Blaine Gabbert. And the young star Mike Thomas with the young Mike Thomas wide receiver. And then he also goes on to say the new additions on defense could make a competitive year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I went on to ask him, with David Garrard proclaiming he is the starter, is the rookie Blaine Gabbert getting reps with the first team? The new system allows for competition, he says, and with David Garrard out with injury for the time being, of course, Blaine Gabbert, the rookie, is getting reps. Let's see. He goes on to talk about how he spent such a high draft pick and how the future growth of Blaine Gabbert's important. So of course he's going to get a chance to compete. And since they spent a first-round draft pick, he obviously deserves the chance to compete. And he feels this is only good because it will push the two quarterbacks to be better. He thinks that, by the way, that David Garrard could compete, if not start, for most NFL teams. So having a good backup is important because you never know when an injury could strike. And then I asked him about the lack of, quite honestly, the lack of experience with his wide receiver core. And Woodgie responds, I knew it was going to come up. In all honesty, yes, it does. He kind of laughs it off with a chuckle. There is not much depth to the position, but there is also players with tremendous potential, remembering that free agency isn't over. He didn't say this specifically, but he did say he was going to look and try to get a few free agents to possibly at least push the quality, and if not, add some depth to the position. But I mean, it doesn't take a blind man to realize that Terrell Owens is still a free agent. I mean, you could get some young kids, a couple kids with more potential. But Terrell Owens, he's definitely got to be on the Jacksonville Jaguars' radar, even though he wasn't spoke of in Pacifics. I also went on to speak of Maurice Jones-Drew, his obvious star player. And I spoke and I told him that I had spoke to Maurice a few weeks ago at a charity event, a charity basketball event, where Maurice was more than adequate and more than admiring of his new ownership. He just spoke praise of that organization. Which I told the owner, and owner Alex, and he responded, "I feel every team should have a good running game to be successful. I definitely want to use him to his full potential. I feel we need an edge, something that sets us apart from the rest of the division." Because people know about Peyton Manning and the Colts, and the Texans always knocking on the door, So he goes on to say, people know the Texans wide receiver Andre Johnson could be the best wide receiver alongside Indianapolis Colt Reggie Wayne, obviously. So we need to set ourselves apart. And he feels by running the ball that could bring a good change of pace to the division. And we've seen Maurice Jones-Drew carry the load before, so it seems like he's more than confident in Maurice Jones-Drew's ability to carry that team. I also asked him if he thought starting a rookie quarterback was a good idea. I didn't say Blaine Gabbert in Pacific, but that's obviously what I was hinting towards, in which he said, you could make an argument for both sides of the argument. Recently, quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford and Sam Bradford have been mostly a success story, doing positive things for their teams in year one, besides Matthew Stafford's nagging injuries. There has also been sides of the argument saying, no, it's not a good thing. It benefited Aaron Rodgers, for example, to sit behind such a legendary guy in Brett Favre for, 4 years? While Aaron Rodgers digested the offense and felt more comfortable, being able to be mentored, if sorts, by Brett Favre. Well, here's a good example why I heard a player like Alex Smith, who was always in flux about his offensive coordinators, and he could never get a offensive momentum or an offensive feel or what really the offensive team was supposed to do. So it hurt guys like Alex Smith. Alex goes on to say, I think it all comes down to knowledge. If a player produces enough obvious know-it-all to know the playbook and to understand and to, read the plays, then go ahead and start him. With the amount of money, he goes on to say, is spent on quarterbacks, you have to be very careful on how they develop and how you use them. And that being said, sometimes, especially if you're on a bad team, we've seen that's how Matthew Stafford started, because Matthew was on such a bad team at the time. The Lions really needed the fan support and really needed to sell tickets and all the merchandise and, the business side of things, and they had to start him. And I was trying to get to the bottom of the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to start him. He didn't say he was going to start Blaine Gabbert, but my personal opinion is he's leaning towards starting Blaine Gabbert. That's just what I picked up. I don't know if he's going to start him. Alex was a really good guy. He answered all my questions. I didn't try to push too much or probe too far into more delicate situations. I can say, speaking to him, I think right now, if the season started today, he would definitely start Blaine Gabbert. There's no question in my mind. Now, will he admit that? I don't know. Like I said, I didn't probe the situation, but I think he would definitely start him. I also sat down with the Chargers owner, which I don't have time to get into. I'll write a separate thing about that next week, but it's coming. It's coming in, and it's very exciting. I spoke to him today, but again, I spoke to him very briefly. I'd like to spend more time with the Chargers. Listen, guys, I want to break down every team. I want to do these team interviews for every team. So far, I've got in contact with the Chargers, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got the Packers owner coming up. He agreed to do an interview. But this was really fun. Me and Alex just sat down. We chatted up, and I'm really excited to break every team down. And I really tried to be fair with Alex, but then really asked him, detailed and honest questions, and I was really hoping to get honest answers from him, and I think I did. I think the Blaine Gabbert, David Garrard subject is very interesting. I'm also going to try to hunt down the Steelers owner this week and see if we can do a Green Bay Steelers in one episode. The problem is these interviews are so intriguing and they're so interesting, and I ask so many questions because I really want to get to the bottom of everything that sometimes, I can't get too into one, but I mean, I think it's worth it. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars, he really gave me a lot of answers. He also said, before I forget, I asked him some of the most, I asked him, his biggest disappointment. So we'll start with the bad news first, because it's always good to start with bad news. He said, the defensive tackle, I hope to get this name right. I'm sorry, I think he's a rookie, so you got a few years before I can get your name right and you can yell at me. But I think his name is Kingston. He's a defensive tackle. He said he was a little overweight. That's not surprising with young kids. I mean, they oftentimes think the NFL is so easy. They get paid, they don't got to work, blah, blah, blah. Life goes on. I don't have to get into that. But I think it's very interesting. He was overweight. He also spoke of I think he said his name was I'm not a Jacksonville Jaguar know-it-all, but Aaron Lane, I think the defensive end. He said he worked over with Aaron Campman and he improved greatly. I mean, Campman helped him out, and so he thinks that Lane could be a vital part in this year, at least contributing to special teams, if not starting. And he seemed very optimistic. I mean, he's got a good core linebackers. I think he will go after a guy like Terrell Owens. And let's talk about a guy like Terrell Owens a minute. I mean, there's some people going after Terrell Owens this season, but there is nobody, in my opinion, that needs a wide receiver like the Jacksonville Jaguars. So at the end of the day, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, in all honesty, will overpay for a guy like Terrell Owens just because he needs him. You don't have a choice, man. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, when a guy needs him, not bad. I mean, he needs him, and he'll probably get him, and whatever. It's done. But I think he gets Terrell Owens at least for a year. Terrell's kind of old, but I mean, I think he gets him. I think it works out. I mean, I think he overpays a little bit, but I don't know. I've also heard the Chargers were expressing interest. The Panthers might be expressing interest. They wanted a big wide receiver. I've heard from my sources. Let's see. Sorry for stalling. Live TV can only help so much, right? No, but I think there are always a lot of people looking for Terrell Owens. I mean, Terrell Owens might want to go to a playoff team like the Packers or the Steelers, or it's going to be interesting because they're still a big name, and there's Tiki Barber for anyone who wants to throw out a filler for a running back. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's just all up in the air, man. But I got to get out of here. I got to scoot. I got to run. I got to do it big time. But let's see. Yeah, I got to run. I got to get out of here. But I want to thank Alex for a nice interview, sit down time, man. We did it big. We did it right. Alex, peace, man. You did awesome today. Thanks for your work, man. I want to throw a shout out. I will be coming out with the Chargers tomorrow or today. Sometime it will be coming. Chargers interview. It was hot, man. It was hot. It was debatable. Just like this one, I hope to throw out more of them. Have a good night, fellas. Peace.